The question that stopped me cold. A woman in her late 70s, her hands trembling as she grips her cane, looks you square in the eye and asks, "Doctor, am I too old to feel alive again?" That question, raw and heavy, hit me like a freight train one rainy afternoon in my Chicago clinic. It wasn't just a question about medicine, it was a cry from the heart, a plea from someone who felt her body had betrayed her dreams. As Dr. Thomas, a rheumatologist with 35 years of stitching broken bodies back together, I've heard thousands of questions. But this one, from a patient named Eleanor Hayes, stopped me cold. It wasn't just about her aching knees or swollen ankles. It was about reclaiming a life she feared was slipping away. If you're over 50, 60, or 70, you know that pang, the quiet dread that your best days are behind you, that your body's creaks and groans are a life sentence. But what if I told you that the key to unlocking your strength, your freedom, your life isn't locked in a pill bottle or a surgeon's scalpel? What if it's been hiding in your kitchen all along, in the humble vegetables you've passed by 1,000 times? Today, I'm not just sharing medical facts for your YouTube channel, Living Fully After 50. I'm telling you Eleanor's story, a story of pain, hope, and a comeback that'll make you rethink what's possible. So, grab a coffee, settle in, and let's walk this journey together. Because Eleanor's story might just be yours. The day Eleanor walked in. It was November 2019, and Chicago was wrapped in a gray drizzle. Eleanor Hayes shuffled into my clinic, her silver hair tucked under a scarf, her face a map of resilience and exhaustion. At 78, she carried herself with the grace of a former dancer, but her body told a different story. Her knees were swollen, her hips ached with every step, and her ankles puffed up after even a short walk to the mailbox. Her chart read like a textbook case of osteoarthritis, but her eyes told me more. They held a spark, a stubborn refusal to give up, even as her body screamed, "Slow down." Eleanor wasn't just any patient. She'd been a ballerina in her youth, performing on stages across Illinois, her movements once fluid as a river. Now, she could barely climb the 3 steps to her porch. "Dr. Thomas," she said, her voice steady but soft, "I don't care about dancing again. I just want to walk to the community garden without feeling like I'm breaking. I want to pick flowers with my granddaughter, Lily, without wincing. Is that too much to ask?" Her words cut deep, not because they were new, but because they echoed the silent cries of so many seniors I've treated. The fear of becoming a burden. The longing to stay connected to the people and places they love. I leaned forward, meeting her gaze. "Eleanor, your body hasn't forgotten how to heal. It just needs the right tools. And I think we can find them in your kitchen." She raised an eyebrow, skeptical but curious. That was the moment our journey began, a journey that would test her resolve, challenge my assumptions, and prove that hope can grow from the simplest seeds. The silent thief, collagen's decline. Before we dive into Eleanor's story, let's talk about why her knees ached and her hips groaned. As we age, our bodies lose collagen, the protein that's like the glue holding our joints together. Think of collagen as the cushion in your knees, the spring in your tendons, the scaffolding that keeps your hips steady. By your 60s, your body's collagen production drops sharply, leaving cartilage thin, joints inflamed, and movements painful. It's not just aging, it's a silent thief, stealing your freedom one step at a time. For Eleanor, this meant giving up her morning walks to the garden, where she'd tended roses for decades. It meant skipping family picnics because standing too long hurt too much. It meant watching Lily, her 8-year-old granddaughter, play alone while Eleanor sat, feeling like a spectator in her own life. But here's what I told her, and what I'm telling you, you can fight back. Not with fancy supplements or risky surgeries, but with food specifically, 7 vegetables that can help your body rebuild collagen, tame inflammation, and bring back your stride. A plan born of desperation. Eleanor's diet, like many seniors, was practical but limited. She loved her grilled cheese sandwiches, canned soups, and the occasional apple pie. Vegetables? They were an afterthought, maybe some limp carrots in a stew. I saw an opportunity. Eleanor, I said, what if we could use food to talk to your joints? Not pills, not powders, just vegetables you can find at any grocery store. She chuckled, a mix of doubt and amusement. Doc, you're telling me broccoli's gonna fix my knees? I'm not buying it. But she was desperate, and desperation can be a powerful motivator. I proposed a 16-week plan. Incorporate 7 collagen-supporting vegetables into her meals, starting small but staying consistent. We'd track her pain, mobility, and swelling, and adjust as needed. I handed her a list, backed by studies from places like the University of Illinois and the Journal of Gerontology. These weren't random picks, they were science-backed allies for aging joints. Eleanor agreed, but not without a warning. If this doesn't work, Dr. Thomas, I'm blaming you for making me eat kale. The 7 vegetables, a path to healing. Let's walk through the 7 vegetables that became Eleanor's lifeline, weaving in her story, the science, and a few surprises that kept us both on our toes. These aren't just foods, they are tools to rebuild what time has worn down. 1. Spinach, the quiet protector. I started with spinach, a leafy green that's more than just a salad filler. Spinach is packed with vitamin C, which builds collagen's triple helix structure, giving your joints flexibility. It's got magnesium to soothe inflammation and iron to carry oxygen to healing tissues. A 2021 study showed seniors eating spinach 4 times a week had less swelling and stronger joints after 6 weeks. Eleanor wrinkled her nose at spinach, memories of soggy greens from her childhood surfacing. I suggested blending it into her morning smoothie with a banana and a splash of almond milk. It's like a milkshake, I promised. She tried it, grudgingly, twice a week. By week 3, she called me, surprised. My knees don't lock up as much when I get out of bed. Is this the spinach? It was early, but the spark in her voice told me we were onto something. A twist in the tale, the fall. But life isn't a straight line. In week 4, Eleanor tripped on her porch steps, twisting her ankle. The swelling flared, and her confidence plummeted. She called me, voice shaky. Dr. Thomas, I knew this was too good to be true. I'm done. My heart sank. Losing her trust now could derail everything. I visited her at home, bringing a bag of fresh spinach. Eleanor, healing isn't perfect. This fall doesn't mean you're failing. Let's keep going, together. I showed her how to make a spinach soup with garlic and potatoes, something warm and comforting. She agreed to try again, but the doubt lingered. As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." Eleanor's fall was a test, and her choice to keep going was her first victory. 2. Broccoli, the inflammation tamer. Next up was broccoli, a vegetable I call the inflammation tamer for its sulforaphane, a compound that protects cartilage and calms inflammatory molecules. It's also rich in vitamins C and K, which strengthen collagen and keep calcium out of joints. A 12-week study found seniors eating broccoli 3 times a week had less knee pain and better range of motion. Eleanor had eaten broccoli before, but always boiled to mush. I taught her to roast it with olive oil and a pinch of sea salt. "It's crispy, like chips," I said. She laughed but gave it a shot. By week 6, post-fall, her ankle swelling was down, and she could stand longer while cooking. "I'm starting to believe you, Doc," she said, a sly grin spreading. That grin was worth more than any prescription. A small story, John's broccoli breakthrough. Let me share another patient's story to show this wasn't just Eleanor's win. John, a 65-year-old retired mechanic, came to me with hips so stiff he couldn't bend to tie his shoes. I suggested broccoli, steamed with a lemon drizzle. 10 weeks later, he walked into my clinic, bending to touch his toes like a kid showing off. "Doc, my wife says I'm a new man." His inflammation markers had dropped, and his hips moved smoother. Broccoli wasn't a cure, but it was a spark. 3. Garlic, the mighty clove. Garlic was an easy sell for Eleanor, who loved bold flavors. Each clove bursts with sulfur compounds like allicin, crucial for collagen synthesis. It also fights inflammatory cytokines, easing joint pain. A 2020 trial showed seniors eating fresh garlic daily had a 28% pain reduction in 8 weeks. Eleanor started crushing garlic into her soups and stir-fries, letting it sit 10 minutes to activate its power, as I'd advised. By week 8, her hip pain eased, letting her sit through Lily's school play without shifting uncomfortably. I didn't realize how much I missed just being there, she told me, her voice thick. Garlic was small but mighty, like Eleanor herself. 4. Carrots, the cartilage keeper. Carrots, with their beta-carotene, converted to vitamin A, are cartilage's best friend. They also have polyacetylenes to reduce oxidative stress. Studies show seniors eating beta-carotene-rich foods have slower joint degeneration. Eleanor loved carrots in her Sunday roasts but rarely ate them otherwise. I suggested roasting them with honey and thyme for a sweet, healing side. By week 10, she could walk to her mailbox without her cane, a milestone that brought tears to her eyes. "It's not the garden yet, but it's a start," she said. A second twist, the family doubt. But not everyone was on board. Eleanor's son, Mark, a pragmatic accountant, questioned her vegetable experiment. At a family dinner, he scoffed, "Mom, you're wasting time. Just get the knee surgery." Eleanor's confidence wavered. She called me, torn. "What if he's right, Dr. Thomas? What if I'm fooling myself?" I reminded her of her progress, the walks, the reduced pain. "Eleanor, this is about your body, your life. Trust what you feel." I shared a quote from Maya Angelou, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them. She hung up, resolute. 5 onions, the collagen spark. Onions, packed with quercetin and sulfur, ignite collagen production and tame inflammation. A study found seniors eating onions 5 times a week had less swelling and better joint function. Eleanor already used onions, but I encouraged fresh, raw slices in salads for maximum quercetin. By week 12, her ankle swelling was nearly gone, and she felt steadier. "I'm not wobbling as much," she said, laughing. That laughter was music, a sign her spirit was healing too. A small story, Sarah's onion awakening. Another patient, Sarah, a 70-year-old librarian, found relief with onions. Her swollen hands made shelving books agony. I suggested onion-heavy soups. 3 months later, she could grip books pain-free. "I feel like I'm back in the game," she said. Her blood tests showed lower inflammation, proof the onions were working. 6. Kale, the joint builder. Kale, a nutrient titan, is loaded with vitamins C and K, manganese, and copper, all vital for collagen and joint lubrication. A 2020 review showed seniors eating leafy greens regularly had resilient cartilage. Eleanor thought kale was hippie food, but I convinced her to try a massaged kale salad with lemon and olive oil. By week 14, she could kneel to plant bulbs in her garden, a feat she hadn't managed in years. "Lily helped me," she said, beaming. She says I'm her superhero. 7. Cabbage, the unsung hero. Cabbage, rich in vitamin C and glutamine, rebuilds joint fluid and tissue. A 2021 study found seniors eating cabbage 3 times a week had 43% less swelling and better stability. Eleanor embraced cabbage, braising it with apple cider vinegar for a tangy dish. By week 16, she walked to the community garden 400 yards, cane-free for the first time in 3 years. She picked a rose for Lily, her hands steady. "Dr. Thomas," she said, "I feel alive again." The climax, Eleanor's triumph. Week 16 was our final check-in, but it wasn't just a medical visit, it was a celebration. Eleanor's pain score dropped from 9/10 to 2/10. Her swelling was gone, her mobility restored. She showed me a photo of her and Lily in the garden, both covered in dirt, laughing. "This is what I wanted," she said, tears streaming. "Not just to walk, but to live." But the real climax came a month later. Eleanor invited me to her community center's spring talent show. I arrived, expecting a quiet evening. Instead, I saw Eleanor on stage, not dancing like her ballerina days, but leading a group of seniors in a gentle waltz, her steps smooth, her smile radiant. The crowd cheered, and I clapped until my hands hurt. She'd done it, not just healed her body, but reclaimed her spirit. As Nelson Mandela said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." Eleanor's waltz was proof. Why this matters to you? If you're watching Living Fully After 50, you might feel like Eleanor did, trapped by pain, yearning to move freely, to garden, to play with your grandkids, to feel you again. Maybe your knees creak, your hips ache, or your hands fumble. But your body hasn't given up. It's waiting for you to speak its language, through spinach, broccoli, garlic, carrots, onions, kale, and cabbage. These aren't just vegetables, they are lifelines, backed by science and proven by stories like Eleanor's, John's, and Sarah's. I know it's hard. Cooking fresh food when you're tired or in pain feels like climbing Everest. But start small. Add a handful of kale to your stew. Roast a carrot with dinner. Crush garlic into your pasta. These are acts of love for your body, investments in a future where you can dance, walk, or simply stand without fear. Your challenge: one step, one bite. Here's my challenge for you, Living Fully After 50 community. This week, pick one vegetable from Eleanor's list. Try it 3 times in a soup, a salad, a roast. Notice how you feel. Share it in the comments below with a one and a vegetable you chose. If this story didn't click, comment 0 and tell me what you need. Your story matters, and it could inspire someone else. Eleanor taught me that age is a number, but courage is eternal. At 78, she waltzed back into her life. You can too. Your kitchen is a pharmacy, your plate a canvas, your body a story still being written. As Helen Keller said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Take that first bite. Your joints are listening. A final lesson: you are enough. After 35 years as a doctor, I've learned that healing isn't just about fixing bodies, it's about honoring dreams. Eleanor's story isn't about vegetables alone, it's about believing you're worth fighting for. Every spinach leaf, every cabbage wedge, is a vote for your strength, your joy, your life after 50. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Share this video with someone who needs hope, because no one should grow old thinking pain is their only path. Subscribe to Living Fully After 50 for more stories of triumph, and let's keep living fully, one step, one bite at a time. See you in the comments. Let's make this adventure together.